meeting was going to be finished in time. So I have the book by Hoda Copy. I really needed this today, and it's been beneficial throughout all of this. So for today, for April 13th, if y'all didn't realize, today's Monday, April 13th, it's just to remember why you started. Remember why we do this Head Start business that we're in. Why do we serve the families we serve? It's obviously a different way that we're serving our children and families, but just to remember that we're that champion for our families. It will get very tedious and monotonous, I guess, in the way that we're serving them because we don't see them face to face, but it's our job to be that champion. And I look back on the quote that Rita Pearson said is, you know, it's our job to be the champion for every Head Start or any child. And so just to kind of remember that, think about why you started in your role, why you started in Head Start to begin with, and kind of reflect on that if you need that jump start and energy to keep on moving, because it can be tough when we don't see those children and families face to face. Now, you know, we still see them when we're dropping off food. We still see them as we're receiving those packets back of the special ed things that they're doing at home and supporting that documentation. But that connection is key. So we've got to find other ways to connect and be that champion to our families. So that's just my motivational tip for today. The only other thing I wanted to share is I know several of you have been on all the calls about the funds that are coming through the CARES Act. Make sure that you're applying for those. Again, the sky's the limit on that. So if you think that you're going to be able to apply, if you think that there may be a chance that you are going to want some of those funds and apply for that, do that now. We're really incentivizing to our staff. Our plan is to start something in July if we're able to be open again. Fingers are crossed. Everybody stay home. Don't go out because we need to get our kids back in the buildings. We need everybody to be healthy. So stay home. But
yeah, and in fact, Christy, I think that the deadline for submitting your letter of intent is today.
It's today.
So April 13th.
If you think you can do it at all, submit that letter of intent. Our goal is to come back in July and make it very worth our staff's while. I sent out, somebody had the great idea to send out that message to see who would be interested, and we've had a ton of response back. So we're moving forward to plan at least a month's worth of summer school, because we usually start the first to middle of August anyway. So I'm happy to share that with anybody. I won't take up everybody's time today, but feel free to email me and reach out if that's something you're interested in. The only other thing I wanted to share is that the National Head Start Association is doing their annual conference virtually. I think that's a great way for our staff to get some high quality professional development. So I encourage you to check that out and plug your staff into those great resources. And then I'm sure once Sally has her information, depending on how we're able to connect with some great resources across the state, you know, let's plug in and think of the many ways that we can virtually do PD that might be beneficial to others. The only other thing I thought I would share very quickly is transition to kindergarten is key. It's so important for our kindergarten teachers and staff to know who they're receiving and what are some of their strengths and area of growth. And that's what we've been doing Friday, today, and yesterday. We meet with each elementary school and we talk about each child, their family strengths, their family areas of growth, and they also talk about their educational strengths and areas of growth. So this is a great time to reach out to them because they can have this over a Zoom meeting. It is still confidential. And, you know, because our school district is our grantee, we're able to share and talk about the receiving students that they have. So I hope y'all have a great day. If you've got any questions for me or if there's anything I can do to support you in your program, let me know. To all of y'all that might have had some storm damage last night, we'll be keeping you in our prayers. If there's anything we can do to assist you, please let us know. I'm happy to do whatever I can to help. So have a blessed day. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Christy. Let's go to Sally. Sally, any updates from GOEC or any of the calls that I know that you've been participating on?
I think for as far as the calls, most of the information you guys have been in that loop. And just like Christy said, really encourage everybody to send in that letter of intent. You can always change your mind if something happens and you don't have enough staff or you just can't get it off the ground or whatever. That's okay. But if at all possible, try to do some type of transitioning this year, because I think it's always important, but it's so much more important this year just because of everything that's going on. For the GOEC, so the PDG grant that we were awarded, we had received a no-cost extension through March 31st, and we had to have everything obligated so that we could liquidate and finish out those projects by June 30th. So COVID hit, and a lot of the things that we had planned for using those funds fell through. So we had to create a new plan and get that money obligated in, it was around a week, maybe a little bit less time to get that information out. So in doing that, one of the big lift and the big change that we created was we're going to have a way for families across the state, and this is going to be limited, but as far as the supplies, but we have other ways to get it out into families' hands also. But for our part, kits through Lakeshore. And so there will be 3 separate learning kits that will be shipped directly to families. There'll be an infant toddler kit, a preschool kit, and then what we're calling a pre-K kit. So those two preschool and pre-K kits will be, the pre-K is just a little bit developmentally more, just a little bit more academic focus. So those 3 kits will be available directly to families. What we'll be doing is sending out an application to families to send in. And really, it's not necessarily an application. It's just a way for us to track and keep count and where those kits are going and making sure that we coordinate all that. Lakeshore, we're working also with Lakeshore to create, it's a very simplistic mini training for families on the kit. So if I'm a family and I have an infant toddler and a pre-K age child, then I can apply for 2 kits. I will have to participate in 2 different trainings. They're short trainings and it's directly related to what's in the kit. And then also talking about developmentally appropriate practice, what you should do with those, what you should be doing with your child as a family, those kinds of things. Once they view that, then they will be shipped out directly a kit. Like I said, the kits, the availability is limited. However, in that application, we're getting information on that family. And those who were saying opt in, those who opt in will receive contact from either a CECC or the GOEC in some manner. So if they're being asked, do you want additional information on early childhood development or things to do with your child or things like that? That way we can have direct contact information that we can send to the CECCs so that they can follow up on that. The other part of that is that some of the CECCs basically can't spend their money this year because all of their activities are very much training based and face-to-face and those kinds of things. And so they can't do those. So we're encouraging them to also use these kits or something similar to work directly with families, to have some type of technology driven training for families who opt in. We don't have those details worked out with the CECCs because we're having a meeting with them today. And then we'll follow up with some training and technical assistance and some ideas with them. So we're trying to do 2 different things. Well, actually a few different things. One is spend the money in the best way that we can. We had talked about sending that money to CECCs, or other agencies, but basically they can't spend it either in the turnaround time that we have to have, because it had to be obligated by March 31st. So the other thing is some direct support to families. And then the other thing is gathering information. This is a good way and a good time for us to gather information that can get some people who are willing, families who are willing to have agencies contact them directly. So even though we're, you know, a lot of you guys with Head Start, there's the HANDS programs, there's the Friskies, there's all types of different agencies. We know that we still miss kids and families. So hopefully we'll have a way, this will help with that and get them directly linked to the CECCs. Because I think sometimes that's the issues that the CECCs have. They have a tendency to think about only those kids who are in childcare or a certain population in their community rather than the community as a whole. So maybe this will help. And we may be asking you to use your contacts to get that application out. So that's part of the plan that we're working on now, is how we get that information out to families and target certain families, because we can definitely put it on Facebook and Twitter and social media and all that kind of stuff and reach a lot of different people, but I feel like we're reaching the same people over and over. So we may send that link out to you guys and ask you to send that out to your families, especially those early Head Start families that may be doing some type of home visitation program rather than a center-based program that could give materials in those households that then those early Head Start providers can work with too. Also just the general Head Start programs too. So I'll get more information, like actual written information to you just as soon as we get that plan hammered out. The other thing with the family trainings, we do have a way to, if there's a family that has lower technology use, once they can get the application in, we can work with them on making this happen without having them view a video over the internet. We can work with them on how to get that to them. It will also be offered in both Spanish and English. So just putting that out there, if you have any of those families that you can think of that may need that in Spanish. And I mentioned this before, the virtual trainings that ECI was canceled. We're working on a master list now for those virtual trainings. It looks like we'll have around 40 different trainings available, or 40 different opportunities for trainings. Some of them will be duplicated. It just depends on what we had those vendors contracted for ECI. Some of them had a series. Some of them had 2 different trainings that were offered different times, like maybe each training was offered each day. So we'll get back to you with the complete details in that master schedule. Ideally, right now, we want those trainings offered live, and there will be a cap depending on the platform that we use for how many can participate live. But once that's live, we're working with ECE TRIS to have those recordings housed on TRIS. And then that way, there'll be a small assessment at the end, and they can access those free through TRIS, have the assessment, and then receive credit. We want those housed on TRIS for at least a year. We're looking at 2 years, so that's ongoing. We know that trainings typically get stale after a while, but that will allow us to have really high quality trainings on our regular Kentucky platform for people to access at any time. So hopefully this helps with the shutdown during COVID, because people can, maybe they have a little bit more time. Teachers and teaching assistants have a little bit more time to view those maybe a little bit more leisurely. But we're also looking at, this is a really good opportunity for us to have a lot of trainings housed on TRIS for future use. So that will be open to teachers now. And then if there are new teachers come in to programs in the next year or so, those will still be available to them. That's really right now all of the, ECAC, sorry. I knew that there was another one. ECAC is this Thursday at 1:00 Eastern time. That will be virtual, that will be WebEx, and that link is on the GOEC's website. It's under About Us, I think, or if you just go on there and type in ECAC, that page will come up.
Sally, would it be okay if I shared that with everybody?
Yes, please do. Please do. That ECAC meeting, of course, as always, is open to the public. And so, you can view that. It's just that, just like always, I call it the peanut gallery. You're in the audience and really can't participate. However, it is there available for you to listen to. I encourage you to join that. Sometimes they're pretty benign and boring, but other times there's a lot of information shared that maybe has a little bit of different spin because of the discussion. And you can get a lot of different viewpoints because of all the different members that are on ECAC have their own way of looking at things. And sometimes that's really interesting. Oh, the other thing is supposedly our new website is supposed to be live by the end of the month. And our new web address, and I'll send this out, is KYECAC. So KYECAC.ky.gov. That is live. That link is live now. It just, when you type that in, it takes you to the Kids Now website. We have a meeting this week with the developer. It's Kentucky Interactive. That's the state agency that does all of that, to review one final time, and then they're supposed to make it go live. I'm just going to smile and say, okay, because this was also supposed to happen in November. And then the election, and we got put on the back burner, and then it was holidays and we got put on the back burner, and then they started working on it again, and then they started working on ECI, so the website got put on the back burner, and then COVID hit. So I'm just, if it happens, it happens, and if it doesn't, that's okay. We know that it's there, but this is supposed to be live by the end of the month. The mock-ups that I've seen so far, it's really, really good. It's a whole lot more user-friendly than the one we have now. It doesn't have as just much clutter that doesn't mean anything. So it's much more user-friendly as far as interactive. You don't have to search for a certain particular phrase to make things come up. It's just a lot easier to use. So I'll be happy when it comes up. I'm really excited to see it. Any questions for me or anything that I can help to support you guys on? I know that just by looking at social media and all the different things, you guys are doing a really good job supporting kids and families. But if there's anything that I can do or I can help with, please let me know. Contact me, email me, call me, whatever.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Sally. You sort of mentioned the things that get put on the back burner. It's sort of the same situation with our database and salary survey, in the sense that we've got it out there, we made it through the holidays, and we're raring to go, and then everything else sort of gets in the way. But that is a reminder to folks that if you've not put information into that KHSA database, you need to. My goal is to get that on our website this week, at least for folks to be able to start playing with it. Hopefully, if you're able to see it and play around with it, that will be an encouragement for folks to put information into it. The second thing is the salary survey. We've only received 6 inputs thus far from across the state. We really need a lot more in order for that salary survey to be valid. So I would encourage folks to, I know it's a difficult time, we're working remotely and you may not have access to some of the information that you otherwise would have, but I just put that out there, and we can work on it now, we can work on it in the future, but that is an ongoing project in which we're trying to get information from all of Kentucky's grantees. Jessica continues to work on our conference. I continue to work on the conference. We were just talking earlier today about trying to figure out how to fill up more time and more spaces at the conference. So you'll see registration opening up again this week, sort of a notice going out to folks. We did have a couple of instances where fiscal years were ending on March 31st. So we had to make a couple of refunds, I think, to Middle Kentucky and to Brett Grayson, but they're going to be re-registering their folks and paying those again. And of course, this gives us more time to attract people to our conference in September. NHSA, I think, has been doing a really good job of holding a variety of leadership calls with state associations, providing updates and good connections, either with the folks at OHS in Washington or with other experts around the country. One of the things they're doing right now, they've got 3 new projects they're opening up, and I'm glad that Kentucky is able to participate in them. The first is they're going to be working on some new social media guidelines and strategies for Head Start programs across the country. And if I'm not mistaken, Christy, I think you're participating on that one, aren't you? Another new one is an onboarding for new state lawmakers is a project they're doing. And then finally, they're attempting to draft a new state strategy playbook. And that's something that I'm going to participate with them on, that particular working group. I think we're familiar with the language playbook that NHSA has put out so that we have a consistent framework to speak from in a very positive way about Head Start. I think the new strategy, the state strategy playbook, is to really begin to get all of our state associations together on the same page when it comes to sharing messages and having something they can fall back on that really assists states and grantees with doing good work and having real strategy and strategic plans. So hopefully that's supposed to begin this afternoon. We have our first call with that particular group. Otherwise, I saw an interesting piece that was shared with me. I think Kentucky is leading census responses from around the country. Right now, I think 45% of Kentuckians have responded to the census. So I'm told that that means we're leading the pack. So I think that has a lot to do with what the Kentucky Nonprofit Network had done and bringing all of the different groups together, including KHSA, and then the work that each of you have done to promote that to the children and families that you support. I sent out this morning a piece that was forwarded to us from Washington State, a variety of training opportunities that are out there. They wanted us to share that far and wide. So if you've got folks interested in wanting to participate in any of those trainings, I would urge you to register and be in touch with them. We're continuing to find different trainings that are out there and beginning to post them on our website. We'll, of course, send out updates, letting folks know about them. With the one that we mentioned last week, the class training, I think I've got one grantee that has indicated they're interested in sending at least 1 or 2 people to that. If you've not taken a look at that, please look in the update from last week, and I can also send it again if you need it in terms of some class training. They've got both a pre-K and an infant and toddler, 2 different tracks that they're doing. And I believe those are May 20th and 21st. So I'll remind folks in the update that I send this week about that information. Otherwise, we just continue to have the different resources available, trying to share what we can, what we see. And like Sally said, if there's anything that folks need, I would encourage you to be in touch with me, be in touch with Jessica. Ask the questions, seek guidance, seek assistance, and we'll do our very best to put you in touch with the right folks that can help. So other thoughts and observations, any challenges that were unique that people ran into this week? Any big success stories that people had over the past week? I just kind of put that out there for everybody. Okay, we're all so busy that we can't, yeah, it's okay. Well, if there aren't anything, I sent Christy a note earlier just a few minutes ago. I think we've sort of reached, at least for the moment, a bit of a new normal when it comes to how we can be conducting some business. And I think initially our ideas were, well, we'll get our KHSA executive committee and perhaps our board of directors together, you know, in a few weeks once all this passes. Well, we've now reached a few weeks and we haven't seen anything pass. So I'm going to be talking to Christy and some of our other executive committee members about perhaps getting our executive committee together in the next week or two virtually, just so we can continue to conduct business, make sure there's a proper amount of oversight, and make sure that we as an association are meeting the needs and expectations of folks out there. I think in that call, we can then make some decisions on how we want to proceed with our board of directors, getting them together so that we can indeed deal with election of officers, and so that we can deal with the review and adoption of our new strategic plan. I know that we've sort of had the challenge of having to postpone our meeting. We've had the challenge of all working, many of us remotely. So we'll be in touch on that, and hopefully in the next month or so, we will be able to get folks together with plenty of warning and plenty of time to prepare, as well as materials, so that we can get back to doing the work that we need to do. So any other thoughts or observations or anything that you'd like to share with the group today?
I just wanted to say, I like everybody sharing on social media, just the good things, but especially Gateway, just the kids doing things that they normally would do in a routine, like brushing your teeth, and talking about that's NTI right now. Like that's what you'd be doing at your Head Start program is, that teacher would be working on teeth brushing skills, hand washing skills. And so I like seeing that in addition to a lot of the other academic things. I think that just helps parents realize that it's not just about making them sit at the table and trace their name or write something or whatever. That's part of it, but there's all kinds of other skills that really need to be taught right now. Some of that meal prep, some of the picking flowers, and you have the little dandelions that every kid in the world picks, I think. And just talking through some of those things, finding flowers and going on scavenger hunts. So I really appreciate showing things that they would do at school anyway. But that's what you can be doing at home now. And that's NTI for kids, that it's not sitting there making them work and setting a timer and saying you have to trace this for 15 minutes until a timer goes off. That's not what NTI is about for young children. And I just really appreciate all the posts that's kind of showing that helps parents work through that, because I think right now a lot of parents are under a lot of stress because all of a sudden in their brain, they now have to act like the teacher. So they have to be mom, dad, grandma, aunt, whoever, main caregiver. But now all of a sudden, everybody's telling them you are completely responsible for your child's schooling from now until whatever date that is. And I think that's a lot of pressure on parents because a lot of them are also working from home or completely out of a job. So I think just showing those kinds of things, that everyday normal activities, and we say that to parents a lot, but I think showing them that really, really helps and helps talk them through and walk them through those kinds of things. So I really appreciate seeing that kind of stuff online and in social media.
Okay, other thoughts and observations? Okay, I'm not hearing any. Just remember, if you do want to share, you can click the unmute. But otherwise, Jessica, anything that you'd like to share?
I'm just continuing to work on the conference and just finding out new sessions and reaching out to people. So if you all need anything, just let me know. I'm happy to help you all with whatever I can.
Okay. Well, unless there's anything else, I think that will conclude our call for today. I will send an update later this afternoon along with a link to this recording in case you've got other folks that want to kind of see what it's about and glean some information from it. But otherwise, we will continue to get information out there and share as we can. So with that, I appreciate everyone joining us today, and we will look forward to getting together again next Monday, and I'll send out that invitation as well. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.